The Rockefeller family is one of the most famous and influential families in American history, known primarily for their vast wealth, business acumen, and philanthropic contributions. However, the Rockefellers have also been the subject of controversy and criticism over the years due to their business practices, political influence, and personal actions. The family's rise to power and wealth is rooted in a combination of ruthless business strategies, monopolistic tactics, and questionable moral decisions that have been the focus of many critiques and conspiracy theories. Below is a comprehensive look at the darker aspects of the Rockefeller family's history. 1. John D. Rockefeller and the birth of Standard Oil. At the heart of the Rockefeller family fortune is John D. Rockefeller, who co-founded Standard Oil in 1870. Standard Oil became the largest oil company in the world and one of the first true monopolies in American history. Rockefeller's business practices were often considered aggressive, predatory, and unethical. Monopoly and ruthless tactics. Monopolistic control. By the 1880s, Standard Oil controlled about 90% of the U.S. oil industry, which led to widespread criticism. Rockefeller's company used a variety of tactics to eliminate competition, including undercutting prices to drive smaller competitors out of business, then raising prices once they had a near-total monopoly in a given market. Railroad deals. Standard Oil is notorious for its use of secret, preferential railroad contracts that allowed Rockefeller to receive deeply discounted shipping rates. This practice effectively crushed competitors who couldn't get the same deals, further strengthening Standard Oil's dominance. This kind of collusion between big corporations and railroads was rampant during the era, and Rockefeller was one of its most successful practitioners. Predatory pricing. Rockefeller employed predatory pricing, often lowering the price of oil products to below-cost levels in order to drive smaller competitors out of business. Once the competition was eliminated, he would raise prices again, monopolizing the market and reaping enormous profits. The trust structure. In 1882, Rockefeller consolidated Standard Oil into a trust, a structure that allowed him to control numerous smaller oil companies without having direct ownership. The trust model was eventually ruled illegal, as it violated antitrust laws, but not before Rockefeller's empire had secured its immense wealth. Public backlash and legal repercussions. The Sherman Antitrust Act, Standard Oil's monopoly practices eventually drew the attention of the U.S. government. In 1911, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Standard Oil violated the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890, which was designed to prevent anti-competitive practices and monopolies. As a result, the company was broken up into several smaller companies, many of which would become major corporations in their own right, e.g., Exxon, Mobil, Chevron, and Amoco. Despite this, Rockefeller's wealth continued to grow. Public image. Despite his philanthropic efforts later in life, Rockefeller was seen by many as the robber baron of his time, a term used for wealthy industrialists who were perceived as using unscrupulous methods to amass their fortunes. 2. Family wealth and influence. The Rockefeller family's wealth has had a far-reaching impact on American society, including their involvement in political, educational, and philanthropic endeavors. However, the family's wealth also brought with it immense power and influence, which raised concerns over its ethical implications. Political influence. Political donations and corruption. John D. Rockefeller was known for his political influence and significant donations to political campaigns. He used his wealth to secure favorable legislation, often at the expense of the public. His political contributions helped him maintain the favorable conditions needed to grow his business empire, even as his practices were increasingly scrutinized. The Rockefeller Republicans. Several members of the Rockefeller family have been involved in politics, notably Nelson Rockefeller, who served as the governor of New York and as vice president of the United States under President Gerald Ford. The Rockefeller family's influence on the Republican Party has been controversial, with critics arguing that they promoted elite interests and corporate power over the welfare of ordinary Americans. Corporate and political collusion. Cultural and financial elites. The Rockefellers were also instrumental in the rise of a corporate oligarchy in the United States. Through their vast wealth, they were able to secure influential positions in various sectors, including finance, education, and even international diplomacy. Critics have argued that their wealth created an unelected, elite class that controlled much of the country's political and economic direction. Influence in World War I and II. Some conspiracy theories suggest that the Rockefellers, along with other elite families, had a role in shaping U.S. foreign policy during the World Wars for the benefit of their financial interests. The family's financial and industrial holdings were said to benefit from the wars, particularly in the case of oil, which became a critical resource in the global conflicts. 3. Philanthropy and hidden agendas. While John D. Rockefeller is often praised for his philanthropy, he donated vast sums to various causes, including education, medical research, and public health. His charitable activities have been the subject of criticism. Philanthropy as a means of control. Philanthropic foundations. The Rockefeller family's philanthropic efforts were channeled through various foundations, including the Rockefeller Foundation, which funded medical and scientific research, as well as social programs. While many of these initiatives were beneficial, some critics have argued that Rockefeller used his philanthropy as a way to consolidate power and influence by shaping public institutions and academic research to align with his interests. Control of education and health. The Rockefeller Foundation played a significant role in shaping the modern education and healthcare systems in the U.S. Some critics argue that Rockefeller, by funding universities, medical institutions, and public health initiatives, was able to influence scientific research and promote capitalist ideologies in these fields. For instance, Rockefeller's foundation was instrumental in promoting the germ theory of disease, which aligned with his interests in pharmaceutical and medical industries. Eugenics. One of the more controversial aspects of the Rockefeller family's philanthropic efforts was their support for the eugenics movement in the early 20th century. The Rockefeller Foundation funded eugenics research and sterilization programs aimed at improving the human race by eliminating perceived undesirable traits. This movement was later discredited due to its association with racist and discriminatory policies. Environmental impact. Oil and environmental damage. The Rockefeller family's wealth, derived from the oil industry, has also been criticized for its contribution to environmental degradation. Standard Oil was responsible for the development of massive oil extraction and refining operations that left lasting scars on the American landscape. Critics argue that the Rockefeller family's oil empire was a primary contributor to the rise of environmental pollution and the depletion of natural resources. 4. The Rockefeller family and conspiracy theories. The Rockefellers have long been the subject of various conspiracy theories, many of which revolve around their supposed role in controlling global events and institutions. The New World Order. One of the most persistent conspiracy theories is that the Rockefeller family, along with other wealthy families, is secretly working to establish a global, centralized government, often referred to as the New World Order. This theory suggests that the Rockefellers have used their wealth and influence to manipulate political events, control financial institutions, and centralize power in the hands of a few elite families. Banking and financial control. Some conspiracy theorists claim that the Rockefeller family's control over the banking and financial systems, particularly through their connections to institutions like Chase Manhattan Bank, which later merged to become part of J.P. Morgan Chase, gives them a disproportionate amount of power in world financial affairs. The Federal Reserve. Another conspiracy theory revolves around the Rockefeller family's alleged involvement in the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913. The Federal Reserve, which controls U.S. monetary policy, is often portrayed in conspiracy theories as a tool for controlling the global economy. The Rockefellers, along with other banking families, are sometimes blamed for helping to create the Federal Reserve in order to manipulate the world's financial systems for their benefit. 5. Summary. The dark history of the Rockefeller family is a story of immense wealth and power, built on monopolistic business practices, political influence, and controversial philanthropy. From John D. Rockefeller's creation of Standard Oil to the family's later influence in banking, education, and healthcare, the Rockefellers' legacy is marked by both their contributions to American society and their role in perpetuating systemic inequality in corporate control. While some of their philanthropic efforts have undeniably benefited the public, their wealth and influence also came at the cost of competition, transparency, and social justice. Furthermore, the family's history has inspired numerous conspiracy theories that paint the Rockefellers as central figures in global power struggles, reinforcing their image as symbols of elite control in the modern world.